Do you want to learn more about starting, growing, or scaling your business? Watch this. Business owners find it extremely difficult to invest enough time to build a high-performance team because they lack time. And the interesting part of building a team is you need to invest in your team. You need to guide your team. You need to create standing operating procedures to help and guide your team what they need to do. So one of the things that I did in my previous business is I created like a simple checklist on what needs to happen at specific areas, like modeling, connecting. This is the steps that you need to follow. This is the checkpoints that you need to check. This is when you need to check. This is how you need to check. This is why you need to check. And that created a list. I mean, when I started that list, it was literally like one A4 page long. By the time I sold the business, it was probably as long as I am when I had to print it out. Because what happens was every time we made a mistake, I went and I zoomed in and I have a conversation with my team. Why did this happen? And I look at why it happens and then I create like a checkpoint to prevent the mistake. And I think that investment in understanding why this happened, creating a checkpoint, see the process, that created a massively powerful tool, even though it's a simple Excel checklist, just to guide people, because sometimes a project becomes so intense that you forget a simple thing to check. And when you forget that simple thing to check, it creates a whole bunch of mistakes down the line, or you find the mistake only a few hours down the line. Now I have to go and fix everything. And once you need to go back and fix stuff, that's then when you probably, waste a lot of time. If it can be just prevented by just having a checkpoint in place somewhere. And I think for most business owners, they lack the understanding or the time to actually go and sit and look at things with their staff. Here's a simple example. I went with a client to his business once because there was an issue between two of his staff members. There was massive animosity. They were always, biting at each other. And when we sat down, we realized, but they're doing the exact same thing, just in a different way. And that caused confusion. And it basically took 5 minutes, and it saved over 20 hours a week by just understanding that one scenario. And I think for most business owners or managers, invest the time once a week, just once a week, go and sit down with someone, understand what they're doing, and even if you just write down one line to check per week, because by the end of a year, you will have 52 points to check. And by doing something as simple as that, can create a massively powerful team because they're following a system. And that's how you kind of build a system with your team. And with the Refocus Your Business Growth Engine, I kind of created like a framework to spend an hour or so with your team on a weekly basis. By bringing the whole team together, ask them questions, they have an opportunity to bounce ideas between one another, have discussions, but also set goals in that session. And then at the next week, you actually check in on the goals and find out why those goals has not been met. And within that whole framework, there's also a point where you can sit down and actually get one of your team members to go and say, hey, what have you learned today? Share that learning with the team. And by doing that, every single week, someone is learning from someone else, or you're leveraging one another's conversations. While you're doing those things, just record those things, because when you actually get a new person into your business and you have a bunch of recordings that a new person can have a look at, you're basically building a whole library of video content, like an onboarding process for your business. That already will save you a lot of time. But more importantly, the new person can go through a bunch of videos, get an understanding of the culture of the business, and start the buy-in of the culture of the business, so that you don't have to do that every single time over and over and over again. And I think that point of a culture is, what kind of culture are you developing within your business? Are you developing a culture that's open, that's learning, that's high performance, or are you creating a culture of we're only blaming each other? And that costs a lot of time, energy, frustration, whatever is going on. So when you actually get frustrated with a team member, or some of your team members are blaming one another, that is your key that your team is what I call the gray zone. Because if they are playing the game in the gray zone, there's going to be massive frustration, it's going to cost time and energy, and that is going to take away from your culture. And if you start building a team and they take ownership and responsibility, that way you can actually start building your systems so that you buy back time over the long run. And that's how you start building a high performance team. To find out more about the Refocus Your Business Growth Engine, click the link below and access my Refocus playbook, because that's where it all starts.